Hello everyone, my name is Pixel Riffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day, and surprise, surprise, we're back here again at the Villager Trading Hall, which is now pretty much complete as far as the population goes. I'm working a little bit on the decorations. I've kind of evened out the side, added in another flag draped from that corner, and I'm starting to think about how I can get around this place. And one of the things I thought I might do, although I'm not going to do a tutorial on this yet because I'm still not certain if I want to use these in here, is to make these kind of slime block bounce pads. Slime blocks have this great property whereby if they're pushed with a piston and you're standing on it, or if there's an armor stand or a player, basically any entity or a villager, a mob, whatever it happens to be, and you're standing on it, it will actually propel you up into the air like so. And this also counts for like sideways movement as well. You can kind of bounce around using slime blocks pretty easily. It takes a little bit of adjustment and redstone timing and that kind of stuff, but what I figured we might do is have these slime block bounce pads to kind of take us from floor to floor in this place, and then maybe have a staircase if I didn't want to bother, or if I wanted to get up to the top floor a little easier, something like that. But I'm still not quite certain how the layout of this place is going to work, so I'm a little bit unsure about whether I want to install slime block bounce pads on the next floors up. And they're also a little bit unreliable. Even in single player, the timing is a little bit difficult to get down. So it works maybe like 90% of the time, and then the other 10% either you don't get sprung up like that, or you end up like glitching through the slime block and falling into the redstone mechanism, and then you get suffocated by them, and it's a little bit awkward. So I'm not certain if I want to do that or not. But up here, this final row of villagers has actually been a really great addition, because not only do we have this guy who has the best carrot trade, which is 15, probably the best pumpkin trade for 8, and a pretty decent melon trade at 9. In fact, I'm probably going to trade a few things to him so we can unlock that pumpkin trade again. This guy is basically going to be a really great source of emeralds for the next little while, and I think all of his trades are still locked. Okay, except the melon one. So I guess we're going to have to, I don't know, get some apples or a cake from him or something like that. Let's unlock that last trade. There we go. We should be able to grab another set of pumpkins. There we go. Fantastic. And is that trade? Yeah, that trade's all locked up again, but it might unlock again. So that guy's been a great source of emeralds. We've been getting a few more emeralds from him. Not only that, but down here, the very last villager who I added to the Villager Trading Hall is a librarian. He's got a reasonable paper trade. He's got an Efficiency 3 book, which is not all that bad, but I thought, you know what? I might as well look through the rest of his books. This one is Knockback 2. This one is channeling. We finally have a channeling book to put on our trident, which I've now mended thanks to all of the experience I've been getting from trading over here, and we can get the channeling trident on, which means today's episode, if we can catch a storm, is going to be one all about lightning. Let me see if I can grab one of these books off of the guy real fast, and we should only need one. Ideally, you'll only need one channeling trident in your world unless you lose the first one in some kind of accident, but I think this is going to be a great episode if we add channeling to this. So let's hop down to the anvil and add it to the trident. This might actually break it, but we need a catchy name for this trident now that we've got channeling on there. So what do we think? I think we'll just go classic and name it Stormbringer. There we go. And we broke the anvil. It is fate. Stormbringer shall bring lightning to the world. Now, the thing about using channeling is that unfortunately it doesn't work unless there is a storm. You can't just bring down lightning on anything that's around you. But oh, you can see that. There you go. The loyalty enchantment returns the trident to you when it has been thrown basically any distance. So it's right the way over there, and then it comes back to me in the blink of an eye. It takes a couple of seconds, actually. It's a little bit slow at times, which means you are leaving yourself vulnerable to attack. But remember, tridents are one of those things, like bows, that can also be thrown or fired from the offhand, which means you're still free to fight with your left hand until the trident comes back. Now, it's not going to come back directly to your offhand is the other thing. So this is definitely a last-ditch move, whereas if you're holding it in your hand like so, and then it's going to come back to an empty hand, but the rest of the time it will return to your inventory. One thing you've got to be very aware of, though, is having a full inventory when you throw a loyalty trident. Let me fill my inventory up with other items to give you a quick example. So let's see. If I throw this trident and then very quickly fill up this spot with another item, like so, the trident is going to return to me, but it's just going to kind of hover around me like this. It's going to have a bit of a tough time returning to my inventory. It wants to return, but it needs a space in which to do that. And as soon as we create a space, it goes back in there. But just bear in mind that if you have a ton of stuff in your inventory and you're throwing a trident, if there is a likelihood that you're going to pick something up again after that, then you might not get the trident back. So just be very wary of that. But considering there is no no way to really force a storm to happen on the world aside from using commands, which is something I really don't want to do. I think I'm going to stay up for a few nights. Thankfully, these villages are all pretty well protected. I tested this out in a creative world, and even if a baby zombie is standing on this trapdoor in front of them like this, they can't actually be attacked because the baby zombie actually attacks from about its head height, and the head height is just above there. They can't get in there with the villager or anything, so all these villagers are perfectly safe, except, ironically enough, from a lightning strike, because occasionally lightning will strike villagers and convert them into witches, which is something I think we might be able to demonstrate in this episode if we get ourselves a storm. But for that to happen, we are going to have to wait a couple of days. So now I don't have to worry too much about the safety of these villagers. I can let them be and wander around here until a storm happens, or I could even take a little trip further afield, wait for a storm to happen, and then we can have a little bit of fun with lightning, because I don't want it to cause any damage to the stuff that I've already built around here, which means we'll probably end up going to a different area and trying to channel the lightning there. So I've come out to the village where we originally found our mending villager Mendelssohn, and I figured this would be a good opportunity to run around and show you guys a bit of combat with the trident in the first place. I'll be able to defend this village from zombies if they happen to wander into the area, and you can see how a trident works. Now, unfortunately, as I said before, tridents are not all that great as a weapon against other mobs. In fact, this one is having trouble even hitting this mob in the first place. But there we go, a couple of whacks with the trident. It has 9 attack damage. It's not too terrible. There we go, we managed to get the throwaway joke advancement for hitting this creeper. The spider's hitbox just doesn't really like the thrown trident. But there you go, you can see a couple of hits with the trident, 3 thrown hits with the trident was enough to take down that creeper, where normally just 2 melee hits would be enough to kill it. So the throw isn't all that great. Using a trident is also pretty slow because you have to take into account the time it takes to draw it back and throw it, and then the time it takes to come back to you. By which time, if you're facing down a horde of zombies, then you kind of want to switch to a sword and use something a little bit more efficient. But it's fun. It's fun to use, I'll give it that. It's not something that I plan to use all the time in this world, but for these other little occasions, like when we have a little bit of fun out here waiting for a storm to start, then it's a bit of fun to have. It's a little bit of variety into the game. And I think it also has a bit more like weight to it. I think it can be thrown a little bit further than the average arrow. Like if I take a full-on throw over there. I don't know quite how far that's gone. I don't know if I could shoot an arrow further than that, but it'll always come back to you in the end. As long as you've got the loyalty enchantment, that is. And speaking of the end, by the way, don't throw one of these things into the void, because you will lose it. It doesn't have a block to rebound off of in the void, and if you throw it just down into the bottom of the world, it will disappear. The problem with the loyalty enchantment is that it has to get stuck in a block and return to you from there, and that's the limitation of it. So if you're fighting the Ender Dragon with one of these, you think that might be a fun idea, be very, very careful that you don't throw this thing into the void, because you won't get it back. The whole reason I've come out to this village in the first place is that the trident has a couple of advancements associated with it, one of which we have just got for throwing your trident at something, and it says throwing away your only weapon is not a good idea, so wise advice there. The other achievement that I want to get, the other advancement here, is to strike a villager with lightning. And that doesn't count this zombie villager that I've just managed to trap. Sadly, he won't pick up any blocks, though, so I don't have a name tag on me. We're probably not going to be able to preserve him all that well, but I just thought it was funny to pin him here in a hole while I was waiting around for a storm to start. But yeah, once lightning starts, we are going to have to strike one of these villagers to get that advancement. Sad though it will be to see one of them converted into a fairly useless witch, I think it's probably a good idea to get that advancement nonetheless. What kind of survival guide would this be if I didn't show you guys how to get the advancements, eh? So I think we'll stick around here for a little while. It's probably going to be a lot of time spent off camera fighting mobs and just kind of chilling here waiting for a storm to start, because you're not guaranteed to get a storm whenever it rains. I do sleep in beds quite frequently when I'm working around my base, so I think it's probably going to be a little while before we get any rain, much less a storm. Okay, I've been here for a little while, and a storm hasn't happened. I actually had to log out because I had some other stuff to do. I had to do a live stream, and I was really hoping that I could keep that achievement in the chat so that you guys wouldn't know that I hadn't used a command to start a storm when it started, and having logged back out, that is no longer in the chat, but I kind of want to see if I can get the advancement for killing a skeleton from at least 50 meters away by killing the skeleton that's underneath that tree, which I assume is probably about 50 blocks away. Let me see if I can get that guy with a bow. Is that landing near him? I kind of hope it is. No, we're way short, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to reach him underneath the tree with the trajectory of this arrow. I don't think it's actually going to... Yeah, I think that one might have landed as far up as, like, in the tree. Thank goodness I have an infinity bow, so I can basically do this all day, but it looks like he might just be too sheltered. Oh, we have rain. We have rain now. Is this going to mean a storm? Is this actually going to be a storm right now? The thing... You notice it's a storm before the thunder even starts because mobs start spawning around, and that witch was already there, so that one doesn't count. But the light level during thunderstorms gets down low enough that it is possible for mobs to spawn, and it's also possible for you to skip through the night. But this is the first rainfall I've had. Oh, that skeleton's despawned now. Never mind. We're evidently not going to get that advancement right now. But yeah, this is the first rainfall I've had since coming out here. And rainfall doesn't necessarily mean it's going to develop into a thunderstorm either. The thunderstorms kind of happen fairly randomly. They normally have between 1.5 days and 7.5 days, according to the wiki, between them. But because I've been sleeping to reset the weather cycle super often, I don't know exactly when a thunderstorm is going to happen. So I'm kind of just left to just hang out here and wait for a thunderstorm to occur. So we'll see if one happens. I will do my best to get an advancement or something in the chat just so I can prove to you guys that I haven't entered a command, because the text of a command actually having executed successfully would show up in the chat, and that would kind of indicate that I'd done this the cheaty way. I want you guys to know that I am actually legitimately staying out here for a little while and not cheating in a storm when it happens. So if I cut to it suddenly, I will try and have some sort of proof. In fact, let's see if there's any other cool advancements that I could get in the meantime. I am one away from killing one of every hostile monster, and I don't know what that last monster is. I don't think it's an endermite, because I think I have killed an endermite, even though I haven't actually shown them on camera yet. I am one biome away from discovering every single biome, which is something I've never done, and I don't have any totems of undying on me, but if I had an ender chest, I could do that. Obviously, the end ones I can't really do. What's left to do in the overworld? Basically nothing, aside from some secret advancements, which we'll get to later. I haven't eaten all that many varieties of food, and the serious dedication one is still something I need to fix with the data pack. Breeding all the animals seems a little bit too far-fetched, so it's pretty much just the skeleton one. I kind of love the fact that that mountain over there looks like a dinosaur. I'm not entirely certain what that is supposed to be. It's like a dinosaur with a speech bubble next to it, like a cartoon speech bubble, like it's saying something, except what it's saying is, I have 8 blocks of coal ore in there that you'll probably never get. I know what I can do. I can timestamp this with a screenshot, so I'm actually recording this the day before the episode goes out, and this is at about 9:15 in the evening for me. There you go. That's going to stay in the chat, so that will be the proof, even if we don't get the skeleton sniper duel advancement, that will be the proof that I haven't summoned this storm in using a command. Once a storm happens, it will happen, and in fact, I'll probably be taking a couple of screenshots in the storm for, like, you know, thumbnail purposes, so I'll at least be able to illustrate quite how long I've been waiting for the storm through the timestamps on that screenshot. I think that guy might count. Yes! There we go! We nailed it! Yay! Oh, I'm so happy I got that. And once again, that is right after the screenshot that I took as proof. So, yeah, we got the sniper duel advancement. That is kind of difficult to get, because not only does it mean you have to get an accurate shot on a skeleton 50 blocks away from you, but it's one of those things where skeletons will despawn if they're more than 32 blocks away from you. They have a chance to, at least. They're not going to instantly despawn, but they have a chance to despawn. So sometimes you'll be shooting at a skeleton, you'll hit it once, you'll need to hit it a second time, especially if you've only got like an unenchanted bow, you'll need to hit it multiple times. But even with a power 4 or power 5 bow, you'll need to hit it a second time, and quite often the skeleton will despawn before you've landed the second shot. So that's actually quite a tough achievement to get, and I'm pretty proud that we got that right here on camera. Still no thunderstorm though, so back to waiting, I guess. Well, all this time and a rainstorm still hasn't turned into a thunderstorm, but we get to see another rarity of Minecraft life. That over there is a spider jockey, a skeleton riding a spider, and they are so rare. They only spawn very, very occasionally, and if you kill either one or the other, then the other just behaves like a perfectly normal mob. So for example, if I try and get rid of the spider with the trident from a distance. As you can see, the spider basically behaves with no regard for what the skeleton is doing, but the skeleton will just pop off the spider and behave like a normal skeleton after that. But jockeys like that are not super uncommon in the grand scheme of things, because you will also find things like baby zombies riding chickens, and even zombie pigmen riding chickens in the nether. It's incredibly rare, but it does happen from time to time. Well, as you will be able to tell from the timestamp here, if I take this screenshot, it has been about 4 hours stood on this rooftop, and we finally have a thunderstorm conditions. And I know this because I just created a charged creeper. We'll get to that in a second. But first of all, I want to show you guys the effects of lightning strikes on villagers, because this is something very, very cool. We've got our nitwit down here, our little experiment. There's thunder and lightning. This is going to be a proper Frankenstein moment, because if we hit this guy with our trident, he turns into a witch, and we get the very, very frightening advancement. So this is a legit thunderstorm, thankfully. I hadn't had to cheat it in, but my gosh, it's taken a while for this to happen. So that is one of the effects of lightning on things. And note that you have to actually hit the subject with your trident. You don't just get to throw it like nearby or something like that. You actually have to strike an entity for it to work. And I'm sorry for that horse, but you'll notice that the thunderstorm, the lightning doesn't affect anything that it hits. Like, it doesn't turn this skeleton into something different or turn that horse into a skeletal horse. It will only affect specific things, like that villager that we turned into a witch, or this villager that I'm also going to turn into a witch, because I feel like just destroying the population of this village right now. The other thing you can do with lightning is transform pigs into zombie pigmen. If I can hit that pig in the distance, well, of course I can't because it moved, we'll be able to do that. Now, where did yeah, there it goes. I was moving a little bit too fast for my trident to catch up. Bam! There we go. Zombie pigman in the overworld, thanks to a bolt of lightning. Now, lightning will still strike randomly. It has a small chance to strike within a chunk, and it will usually pick higher up blocks or entities that are higher up in the world in order to do that, but most of the time it will just calculate a random X and Z value to strike with lightning. Now, the third thing lightning can do that will happen sometimes at random but can be controlled when you have a channeling trident is turn creepers into charged creepers, and this makes them infinitely more dangerous because then their explosion radius is now something akin to what you would get out of an end crystal. It is very large explosion, and it gets even worse if you're on hard mode, which personally I'm not. We're playing on normal mode still, and I do plan on upgrading this world to a hard difficulty in future. We'll go over the changes to that in a future episode. But if I bring this creeper over to another creeper or a skeleton or a zombie, then something very, very special happens, because charged creepers are unique in that they have the ability to make mobs drop their heads if they explode nearby. And that is only really true of creepers, Whoa! That is only really true of creepers, zombies, and skeletons. But down here somewhere, if that worked, yes, we have a creeper head. Now, this is actually something that is quite difficult to get in survival normally, because it relies on a random lightning strike. And look at this crater, by the way. This is the crater caused by a charged creeper. But it normally used to rely on a random lightning strike hitting a creeper in order to create a charged creeper. And as you can see, lightning strikes regularly, but not always in the surrounding area. So not always in the area where you're going to have mob spawns and stuff like that. Is the storm actually over now? I think it is. If I throw... Yep, that pig man over there just despawned. If I throw my trident at anything else, I think we are actually out of lightning right now. So I'm glad I was able to kind of demonstrate all three of the things lightning can do with our channeling trident here. But if I hit that creeper, yep, looks like we are all done with lightning. And apparently there are tons of baby zombies around. And when I say this affects skeletons, I also mean wither skeletons as part of that. So if you have a charged creeper blow up a wither skeleton, there is a 100% chance that that wither skeleton will drop its skull, which is probably the best odds you're ever going to get. It doesn't get any better than that, but it does mean you have to be able to farm charged creepers somehow, which involves collecting a bunch of creepers in a large enough area and striking them all with lightning, and then introducing the wither skeletons to them one at a time for exploding. Because one thing that's worth bearing in mind is that regardless of how many affected mobs are in the explosion radius, you will only ever get one skull to drop at a time, meaning that even though we blew up 2 creepers with that charged creeper explosion, we were only ever going to get 1 creeper head, and that counts even if you're also surrounded by skeletons and zombies. You only get 1 type of head, which I'm pretty sure it just chooses at random. Either that or it's like the closest to the epicenter of the explosion is the one that's going to drop its head. But once we've set up a mob farm and we can set up a separate holding area for creepers, all we need to do is wait for a thunderstorm and we can get a mob head factory together thanks to being able to charge these creepers and blow them up in controlled environments. So thank goodness I was able to actually get a lightning strike and get this episode out to you guys, because it is already an hour past the time I would normally upload this. So obviously this episode is going to be going out a little bit late, and I'm sorry about that. That's just the way this thing had to be. I wanted to get this thunderstorm legit. I didn't want to have to cheat it in with commands or anything like that. And in future, I might revise that, because I don't want to be putting out episodes late all the time just because I'm waiting for natural occurrences in Minecraft. Sometimes the tutorial nature of this series has to take a little bit of precedence over the Let's Play series, and I hope you guys are okay with that. But that is going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on the episode, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.